Alrighty, hello there, and welcome to this video. This is going to be a three-part video series all about this transaxle sitting right here. And this is a 633A. It is out of my 98 Sears Craftsman GT 6000. Now they started putting these in garden tractors way back in the 60s, maybe even the 50s. I don't know the exact history of it. I don't know everything there is to know about this, but I have learned quite a bit in the last couple of days. Taking this apart, installing my drop-in locker from Richie Rich Overdrive, and getting it all cleaned up. So this has been apart already, so it's going to come apart nice and easy for me. That probably will not be the case for you if you're working on a 633A, but I will try my best to show you, what you need to do to get this apart. Okay. This first part is going to be about disassembly. We're going to take this apart piece by piece. If you're just doing this to lock up your differential, which most of you probably are, I will be sure to point out what you need to do just to get that far. And then once we've gotten to that point, I'm going to continue on and tear this thing all the way down for anybody that maybe needs to get in here and replace something or fix something or whatnot. Okay, so let me get gloved up and then we'll start taking this apart. I'll be right back. Okay, and we're back. I don't know what the weather's like in your part of the world today. It is late February. I think I'm filming this on like February 26th or 27th. But here in Texas, it's going to be 85 degrees. It's already in the upper 70s right now. So for me, it's already a little on the warm side. Hope I don't start sweating and mess up everything. But I'm going to do my best to call out what tools I'm using as I go along here. Now, I've already got the input pulley off and the keyway, stored them in a safe place. Mine came off relatively easy. I just put a screwdriver back behind the pulley, like a big screwdriver, and I think I just kind of tapped lightly around the center of the pulley, and it just popped right off for me. The same thing with the brake drum. Mine came with the drum with the band around it. I think some of these have a disc with more like a caliper setup. But same process. I just used a screwdriver and tapped on it and it came off. Okay. And I've just got 2 bolts in the case right now, so I'm kind of cheating a little bit. Here, let me show you what the other side looks like. This is the side with the brake. There's a bolt down here that held part of the brake, and then anyway, you can leave this bracket attached. I've seen people take it off, but I just left mine attached. I haven't had to touch that at all, and I've had this all the way apart. Okay. One word of, I don't know if I want to say caution or just advice. Let's just say advice. Once you get your hubs off, and hopefully you don't have to fight them too bad. I have seen videos where people just could not get the hubs off. They used heat and everything else, and hopefully you can get your hubs off. Mine came off relatively easy, despite the fact that you see all the rust on the, I don't know, you should be able to see it. There's a lot of rust on the splines here. But you want to, after you get your hubs off and their spacers, once you get all that off and you're down to this point, you want to clean these axle shafts real good before you start taking it apart. And that brings up another point. You don't have to get it this clean, but you want to clean the entire transaxle, okay? You don't want a bunch of dirt and sludge and whatever when you open this case falling down inside, okay? So give it a good enough cleaning to where you're not going to get dirt inside this thing when you take it apart. And then clean these axle shafts real good. Maybe even take sandpaper to them, a wire brush and then some sandpaper, because you have to, when you separate this case, you've got to slide it over this axle shaft, and it is a tight fit. If there's any pitting or rust or anything like that, it's going to fight you, and it's for sure going to tear up your axle seals. I'm going to be replacing my axle seals. I'll provide part numbers. I hope I got the right ones. After I got them and everything, I saw something online that different year models use different sizes of axle seals, so I'm hoping I got the right ones. But get those nice and clean. Okay. This is your main shifter, of course. This is your 3-speed shifter, okay? This is your shifter for your high-low range. your selector shaft, if you will. I'm going to call it that, selector shaft, your high-low selector shaft. Once you get the linkage disconnected, there's like the way it connected on mine, there was like a little chain link. You had to kind of take apart, separate to get it off. And then once you're down to this part, clean this really good, because you either have to completely remove your high-low range assembly, or you at least got to pull it up quite a way to be able to twist the high-low range gear out of there. So you might as well just take it off. And this is where you get stuck. And the videos I've watched ahead of time, to learn about this transmission, that's where I saw people struggling was with that high-low range. But if you clean this real good, knock down all the dirt and everything, and then take some sandpaper, get it nice and smooth. Because even with that, it's still a little bit of a struggle. So get that nice and clean. Okay, moving on. I think I've covered just about everything you need to start disassembling this. If I missed something, I apologize. It's been over a week since I originally took this apart. Take a breath, Tony. Okay. So, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get this main shifter off. You want to make sure you're in neutral, okay? I don't know if that's absolutely necessary, but just put it neutral. And these bolts are 1/2 inch or 13 millimeter. And I got this little handy dandy ratchet. Is that off? Nope, that's on. There we go. We're just going to zip these bolts out. I just kind of had them in there loosely. I didn't torque them down. Doing all of this to make this video. Okay, once we got those out, the shifter just comes right out, set it aside, and then this part right here, it's got like a gasket on it, and it's got your H pattern right there. Okay, that comes out. And what I like to do is stick it down, face down like that, and then just store my bolts right here. Or you could put the bolts back in the case. Just want to keep track of where everything goes. If you are new to this type of work, don't be afraid of it. You can do it. Just got to, do your research, know what you're doing ahead of time, and just take your time, take pictures, video, whatever to help yourself, okay? Okay, at this point, I'm ready to turn this transaxle on its side to start getting it apart. Now, I've got a nice handy dandy hole in my bench, and a block of wood handy. So this makes it easy. If you don't have that, what I've seen on other videos people do is take like the wheel and tire off the tractor and kind of use that as a stand, okay? Now then, here's the important part. Which side of this transaxle do you want down before you take it apart? The input side, okay? This is where your input pulley goes, and this is where your high-low selector shaft is, okay? This side goes down. The side with the brake drum or brake disc, that goes up, okay? Now then, I'm sitting on a chair and I took my prosthetic leg off, so hopefully this does not end in disaster. I'm not having a very good leg day today, so. And this is not a light assembly. Alrighty. Okay, that should work. Let me get back down in my chair before I fall on my butt. Okay. My face is partially blocked. Oh well. You're not here to see my pretty face. You're here to learn about this transmission. These case bolts are also 13 millimeter or 1/2 inch. And I've already got my thingy on reverse. Now I've just got 2 bolts in here. You'll have to go all the way around and get all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12, whatever it is. I think it's about 12 bolts. And then you got a washer on each side. I'll just go ahead and stick mine right back together so I don't lose any of the hardware. Okay. Now then, this is going to go a lot easier for me than it will for you. First time I took this apart, it was quite a bit of a fight. This thing is glued together, or it seems like it's glued together. There's, on mine anyway, there was a gasket. On most of them I've seen on the videos, there's a gasket. There's two dowel pins. One right here, and one right here towards the back of the case. And you can tell that where the dowel pins are because everywhere else there's just a hole for the bolt. Right here, there's a bolt hole, and then there's a smaller hole. That smaller hole is a dowel pin. Same thing right here. Okay? And that is a good place to start getting your screwdriver in there to split this case. And you might have to start off with a smaller screwdriver, maybe the thinnest thing you can find, and with a hammer, kind of just try to get in here to get a little bit of leverage to start prying on this case to split it, and work your way back and forth between the two sides. Just work at it. Eventually you'll get it cracked loose, and then once you get it to crack a little bit, then you can start moving around everywhere else and start separating this case. But mine, as you see, just comes right off. The only thing I'm fighting is the bearings on each one of the shafts, and when we get in here in a second, you'll see what I'm talking about. That should be enough. See how it just comes right up? Just go slow and just pick it straight up off of here. Now there's washers on top of every one of these shafts, so you want to make sure that none of the washers stuck to the inside of the case here. And see how clean this is? I spent a lot of time cleaning this thing. I don't see any washers because they all stayed right here on the shafts. That's good. Okay, we're just going to set that aside. And then this is what you have when you open it up. Okay, I'm going to take a second here and I'm going to reposition the camera, try to get you like a top-down view so that you can, really see what's going on here. And then I'm also going to get this case off the table. So be back. Okay, and we're back. Now then, if you're just getting in here to lock the differential, you still got to do what I'm doing. And I will tell you, well, you'll see me get the differential out. Everything I'm going to do between now and pulling the differential is necessary just to get the differential out. This gear right here, as you can plainly see, hangs over your differential. This is your axle. This is your differential, okay? So this gear obviously has to come off. Now, you got a couple choices here. You could either just pull this top gear off and then pull the shaft below it, or you can pull it all at once. I'm going to pull the gear off first just to show you how easy they are to go. See the washer there? Okay. I like to just, you can keep the washers where they go. I just keep them all in a pile. Okay. And then this is your drive gear or your pinion gear. This is what drives. You got to remember to keep this stuff low. Keep it in frame. This is what drives your bull gear. Okay. And in a later video, we'll go over this in detail. Like I said, this is going to be a three-part. This first part's disassembly. The second part, we're going to take a deep dive into this, and then the third part will be reassembly. So feel free to skip around to whatever parts you need. Don't expect anybody to watch every one of these videos all the way through. And then that brings us to this high-low range shaft. Where'd that washer go? There's a washer on the bottom of the shaft too. It stayed with this shaft, and it's on there, so I'm going to leave it. This is where this high-low shaft, this is where I see people struggle. And it's because of this selector shaft that I told you about, and I told you to clean really good. So what you want to do is get under here and start pushing on that selector shaft. If you need to, you might, get a hammer and very carefully and lightly tap here. You might want to put a block of wood there or something, just so you don't mess up this shaft. See, even though I've had it apart, she's not wanting to come out. There she comes. Now then, you could just get to this part right here and wiggle this thing out, but I just like to take it all the way out. Then when you get it out, you can either keep these together or go ahead and separate them. Don't be afraid of it. Just take notes. See, there's that washer. It just fell down in the case. No big deal. I have figured out that there's 4 different sizes of these washers inside this case, plus these, which we're going to go over here in just a second. But this shaft right here, or this shift fork I should say, if you look at it, it can only go back in one way. That selector shaft down, okay? And see how it's just a single fork? Well, if you look at this assembly, it very obviously fits in right there, okay? So that's why I'm not going to worry about the orientation of it. Just going to set it all aside. I'm going to lay this shaft down because I don't want it tilting down. Okay, at this point, we're ready to pull the differential out. Check out these washers right here. See how they got ears on them, or tangs? Those go toward the case. There's one on the bottom as well. So there's two of these, and they go towards the case. Just remember that. Show that one more time. See how when it's sticking on here, the ears are facing up? Okay. Now then, the first time you go to slide this differential out, you're going to have to fight the axle shaft coming up through the case and the bushing and everything. But it just comes straight up, okay? There's nothing holding it. There's no hidden snap rings or nothing like that. It's just going to be, it doesn't want to come out. It's been in here for, 40 or more years, or at least 30 years. And just pull it straight up. Wiggle it if you have to, until she comes out. At that point, you've got your differential in your hand. And if that's all you're doing is getting in here to lock this differential, then this is as far as you have to go. Now then, I installed a drop-in locker from Richie Rich Overdrive. And I did that already. But you will have, depending on what model of 633A you have, you'll have either 4 of these pinion gears in here, or you'll have 6 like I did. And they're arranged where they're like 2 together, one's down and one's up, okay? Just start unbolting this, and it splits in half, and then all your gears come apart. I did a separate video on this locker install. It's on my channel. Go check it out if you want to. But I highly recommend, if you want to lock a 633A, I highly recommend you get in touch with Richie Rich Overdrive and buy one of these bolt-in lockers. It's $75 plus shipping, like 12 bucks shipping. And it is so easy to install. I mean, it literally just bolts in. No welding involved, nothing. It's just a bolt-in deal, okay? All right, end of the shameless plug. The differential is out, ready for you to lock, if that is all you're doing. And if that's all you're doing, you can stop watching the video now, because I'm going to continue on with tearing down this transmission. And then come back for part 3, and I imagine towards the end, to see how this goes back together from this point, okay? All right, you're still here, so either you want to learn how to tear these all the way down, or you have a reason to. So let's continue on. I'm going to take these washers off the tops of all of these shafts and put them aside. Okay. Just like, oh, there's that other axle washer. Ears down towards the case. There was a particular order to get this part of the case disassembled. There's a particular order going on right here as well. Okay. These gears, they kind of overhang each other, okay? So I've already done this. Done it a couple of times, or a few times, honestly. Just kind of playing around, and then to film this video, and also I've already filmed this video and I wasn't happy with the camera angles and whatnot. So this is what I have figured out. This shaft right here, this is your, I'm going to call it your main shaft, because it's got your first, second, third gear and your reverse gear, okay? Just so you know, this top gear is your third gear. Is that right? No, yeah, because reverse is up. Yeah. This top gear is your third gear. This next one down is your second one. Below that is your reverse. And then below that is your first gear. Okay? These gears just come right off. Once you get that washer out of the way, these gears just come right off. Okay? So, take this top one off. Now you can't get this next one off, because your second and third gear on your input shaft is in the way, well, it just comes off along with the shift fork. Okay, this shift fork right here, that is the shift fork for second and third. Look at that, they just slide right off. Okay, once again, we have a single fork, and it's pretty obvious how this goes together. You'll notice the welded side of this gear was facing up. Okay, so it was just like that. All right, we can set these aside. Now I've had this apart enough times, and plus I've been inside enough manual transmissions, I can just scatter parts around and I can get it back together. But you might want to be a little more careful about laying these out as you take them apart. Like I said, take photos, make video, whatever you need to do. Now that we've got that out of the way, now we can come back to this main shaft and slide the next gear off. And then there's a little spacer, okay? And I don't think it matters which way this spacer goes. At least I hope it doesn't. I looked at it really carefully. It's got the same chamfer on both sides. And then you can get to this gear right here, okay? Don't drop it. That would have been bad if it would have hit the floor. Okay, now at this point, let's go ahead and get this input shaft out of the way. All that's left on this input shaft is your little tiny gear for reverse and first, along with this shift fork. So I'm just going to grab the input shaft and the shaft for the shift fork at the same time and just kind of lightly, gently lift it up, wiggle a little bit, and out she comes. We can separate and that gear just falls right down in the case. No big deal. Let me put that back on there. Now, compared to most manual transmissions I've been inside, this thing is easy. Normally, you gotta take snap rings off and use a press and fight to get these gears off. But most of these gears just slide right off. But if you notice this shift fork right here, it's got two forks. That's because that gear, the actual teeth of the gear, go inside that shift fork. Okay, that's an important detail. And the long part, this is where getting it in neutral comes into play. With it in neutral, the long part of this shaft is sticking up, okay? Let's set that aside. Hope I'm not going too fast. If I am, just pause the video, go back. I really hope this helps somebody out. I don't, maybe you're like me, you were just locking it and you had sludge in here and you just wanted to give it a good cleaning. That's a good excuse to take this apart like I am. If you're trying to fix something in here, I honestly wish you the best. Parts are nearly impossible to find, but maybe you've got a second transmission that you've got a part source for. I don't know what your situation is, but here you are learning how to take this apart, so more power to you, my friend. Okay. Now then, this is how I like to do it, just so I don't fight anything. We're down to just this big gear down here, and you should be able to see it. I got the camera angled down. I just like to take this shaft out right here. Now, I don't think it matters which way this shaft goes, but when I took it apart, I went back and looked at my pictures and videos. This little slot, that was facing up, okay? Now then, I'm calling this a counter shaft. This does two things. Power from these two shafts, the input shaft and this main shaft. I'll show you here in a second when I get this big gear out. There's a small gear that drives the bottom gear, as I call it, the holy gear, because there's holes in it. You'll see that in here in a second, or if you can't already. This is also the shaft. These two gears right here is what transfers over to your high-low range assembly. Okay, and when we get to part 2 of this video, I will be going in great deal about that. I will be showing power flows. We'll be talking about gear ratios. I've already mapped out all the gear ratios. I counted every single teeth on every single gear and wrote it all down, crunched all the numbers, and this is a very low geared transmission if you didn't already know that. With my factory pulley ratio, I think I have an 8.5 on the transmission and a 4. So that gives me like a 2.125 pulley ratio, and then you multiply that by your first gear ratio, you multiply that by the reduction going from this shaft to this shaft, then you multiply it by the low range reduction, then you multiply it by the reduction going from this shaft to this shaft, then you multiply it by the final drive ratio. I came up with like a 350 or a 380 to 1 compound gear ratio. Holy crap, that's a mouthful. Yeah, that means the engine turns 380 times, or 350, whatever that number was, for every 1 turn of the wheel or the axle shaft. But we will be going into that in part 2 of this video series. When you got it to this part right here, this transfer shaft, counter shaft, and this big gear on the main shaft, they come out together. Okay, and then you have to almost immediately start kind of bringing them this way because this reverse gear wants to interfere. You could take this reverse gear off if you want to. I've already had it off. It's just one little bitty E-clip or C-clip. Take that off and it just pulls right off. So if you wanted to, you could take that off before you did this and it would be even easier. But boom, they come out and then they separate. And this is how they sit down in the case together. And then this small gear right here is what I was talking about. It drives this bottom gear, this holy gear. Okay, you'll hear me say that a couple of times. The holy gear, or the holy shaft, counter shaft, holy shaft, transfer shaft, whatever you want to call it. We'll just call it the holy shaft. Okay, from here on out, this is the holy shaft. So that, as you see, there's a gear reduction happening there. Okay, a lot of gear reduction going on in this transmission, as there is in most manual transmissions. It's not just the actual gears. You got a reduction here, you got a reduction going to this shaft, you got another reduction here, another reduction here, and another reduction there. So you got to add, multiply all that together to get your overall reduction. This here. Okay, let's stick this washer off to the side. And there was a washer under this shaft that stayed put. We're just going to leave it. Okay, at this point, that was pretty simple, right? We are down to pretty much a bare case. We got the reverse gear left, and then you've got these needle bearings. Mine are in okay shape. Looking at this case, on the back side of this case, where all these needle bearings are, it looks like some sort of a freeze plug. Oh, I missed a washer. Looks like there's some sort of freeze plugs. I don't know if those come out. They look like they could. I wouldn't know which direction, but if you were trying to get in here and replace those bearings, that might be the way. Or just, yeah, looking at it, that might be the way to do it. I don't know, and I'm not going to find out because my bearings are okay. So sorry, but you're kind of on your own there. There's a look at the inside of the case. Once again, look how nice and pretty mine is. But that is it for this video. I thank you for watching. I hope you learned something from it. I hope this helps somebody. And part 2 will be coming out shortly if it doesn't all come out at once. Thanks for watching. Please consider subscribing. Smash that bell, because what the hell. You can find me and other like-minded individuals, if you're into the off-road mowers, at atltf.com. That's all-terrain lawn tractor forums.com. It's on the screen right here, right now. atltf.com. If you're into the off-road mowers, the mud mowers, whatever, if you're not already signed up and a member, come on over and join us. We'd love to have you. That is it for now. Toodles.